The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says at least 70 people are dead, including more than 20 children, after Israeli strikes across Gaza. It comes after separate Israeli strikes on 2 Gaza hospitals yesterday. An Israeli official says one attack targeted a top Hamas leader, but his death is not confirmed. I want to bring in ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge in Tel Aviv for more. Tom, are we seeing an escalation here?
I think we are, certainly. I mean, we saw that short pause in Gaza, Diane, of Israeli military operations when Ian Alexander, the American-Israeli hostage, was freed by Hamas. But since then, we've seen a lot of IDF strikes. The IDF saying it's been going after Hamas inside 2 hospitals yesterday. But overnight, very, very powerful strikes up in the north of Gaza, with hearing about 70 people killed, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, 22 of them children. I've just come off a briefing with humanitarian workers, including the doctor of one hospital up in the north of Gaza. He said the bodies of 9 children were brought into his hospital overnight. He said they had about 50 people injured brought in, including a 4-month-old baby who had to have both of its legs amputated. Other humanitarian workers, including American organizations on this call, was saying, because of more than 70 days of an Israeli blockade, not allowing any humanitarian aid, food, water, fuel into the Gaza Strip, the situation is absolutely dire. There is a sense of people starving, people dying, they said, of illnesses related to malnutrition. There is no fuel, there is no clean water. People, they said, are effectively eating animal feed. They're slaughtering their horses so they actually have something to eat, which is completely unheard of. So, there are dire warnings about the situation in Gaza right now, and Israel continues to maintain that it is doing this to stop aid getting into the hands of Hamas. Diane?
And Tom, President Trump is now in Qatar, where ceasefire negotiations are underway. The U.S. presidential envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is set to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu remotely today. Could Netanyahu be convinced to end the war in Gaza, given he's also escalating it right now?
I think he can. I mean, whether he will remains to be seen. I mean, I think it's the big question underlying everything. And we're seeing a lot of movement. I mean, as you said, we are expecting Steve Witkoff, Trump's top envoy in the Middle East, to speak to Prime Minister Netanyahu, according to an Israeli court where Netanyahu is facing allegations of corruption. He is being allowed out of court to make that conversation remotely possible. And look, I think the Trump administration, there are increasing indications that it's had enough of the war in Gaza. It wants the war to end. Look, Prime Minister Netanyahu, for many, many years, has dealt with many US presidents and stared them down over very big questions relating to Israel and the Palestinian territories. But I think there is a sense that, Donald Trump is a new character for Prime Minister Netanyahu to deal with. And it could be harder for him to resist US pressure because, we don't know what Donald Trump is capable of doing to force Prime Minister Netanyahu to end the war. That is the other key question underlying all this. But look, US potential leverage is absolutely huge because you can't underestimate how important US military aid, US support, US diplomatic support too, is to the Israeli state. And also, if Donald Trump is calling for the war to end in Gaza, this is not something that many Israelis would disagree with. Many Israelis want the war to end because they want the hostages to be prioritized above all else. Diane?
All right, Tom Sufi-Burridge, thank you.